Welcome to Jets Rewind. This is Marty Shupak, and I am in Marysville, Ohio, along with Ray Clifford at two different locations. And Ralph Schrager is up in
Southie.
Massachusetts,
I'm in
Belmont.
Southie.
He's celebrating the Red Sox victory over the Rays, 14-6. How you guys doing?
Great.
I'm
Just
doing
wonderful.
quite well. I had a good
Hey,
night's sleep, and that's all that matters at this point in my life.
Right. And I want to say hello to all the Jet fans out in London. God bless you guys for making the trip. You guys went across the pond, as they said, and I went the other way out to Ohio. But because Ralph was a late entry, I have the trivia question. You may know the answers right off the bat. Just hold on to it. You ready? There was one Jet quarterback that fumbled 6 times in one game. Okay.
Just one?
Let's see if you know who it is. All right. Think about that. We'll come back to it. All right. Let's start out. It's become old news, but right now we all know John Franklin-Meyers signed a 4-year extension, $55 million with about 30.2 guaranteed. Just a couple of facts. In his last 7 games, going back to last year, he has 5 sacks, including 3 in the first 4 games. His new contract makes him the 13th highest paid defensive end by an average annual salary. Ralph, I'd like your reaction first, and I want to hear Ray's.
I'm very happy. I've always felt the guy had potential, and I actually thought that moving him to end this year we'd see more out of him. Douglas, his MO is to sign guys when they're entering their prime. I like that. If he was 29, I wouldn't do it, but I think he's the right age. And, he's 13th now, but, guys will leapfrog him in the next year or so. So I'm very pleased with that.
Ray, what's your first reaction?
Well, what he's done with us, I'm totally on board with it. He's been very pleasant surprise from when we picked him up. I wasn't sure what to expect, and then I was wondering if we were going to extend him. So when they did, I was glad they got that out of the way.
Okay, I want to jump right now because we're talking about him. I sent you guys the agenda, but let's go right to the 5th point. And Ralph, where does this put the situation with Foley Fatukasi? Because this is his last year of a 4-year contract. He'll be 27 next year. Do you think that they're going to try to wrap him up also?
I would like them to. He's kind of a leader. I don't think giving him a contract, you'd lose any motivation. He seems like a real gamer. I think, if they can do 3 years, get 3 years out of him, I think he still has 3 more years. This is the price you pay for being a great team, right? We got all these guys, these great players that we have to sign, but I'm sure they have the room. And yes, I would like to sign him.
Well, Ralph, we're going to talk in a minute about how I was thinking about it, and I gave you a list, how things are starting to fall into place. And I actually even added something else. Ray, what's your feeling about it? And Ralph, I forgot to mention too that Queen and Williams is going to have a contract coming up, and that's going to be
right. Obviously, that's got to get done, and that'll be big. That'll be big money. Fatukasi, the position he plays is a run stuffer, so I don't think he's going to demand a lot. So, relatively speaking, in NFL terms. So yeah, I think it's a doable.
Ray, how about what's your opinion on Fatukasi?
I like him a lot. I don't know that he's somebody that around the league anybody's going to be like outbidding people for him, but if he's available, he won't. He will definitely. There's a market for him. I think though that I think we could get him at a price and fit him in, and still get Williams signed as well. I don't think that'll be we're so far under the cap. I mean, we can do pretty much anything. It's just a matter of how many of next year's 100 draft picks we have will we be able to sign. But other than that, I think we're fine.
Of course, if Marshall really establishes himself, that could give them some flexibility in that situation.
Yeah.
Right. And while we're talking about contracts, and Ralph, Ray and I had a very nice dinner at the Texas Roadhouse restaurant in
Very-
Marysville. It was good, and of course we discussed a lot of Jets. But the
Really?
Marcus, yeah, it's the only thing we have in common. The Marcus Maye situation where he had a DUI, unbeknownst to the Jets hierarchy, after they put a franchise tag on him, and
Yeah,
then
that surprises me. You know, the NFL teams are so good at keeping an eye on all their players. I don't know how that's slid under the radar. It's
yeah, Ralph, I don't want to scare you, but I saw something with a tail just go into your room.
And
It
then
wasn't Ray's
started
cat.
moving.
It wasn't Ray's cat.
it's white. If it's white, it's a lab rat.
Yeah, yeah, Ralph, I agreed with you, and I mentioned it to Ray. The NFL teams, this security is run so tight. It's just unbelievable that this could get by under the radar. And I was shocked also. But I did some thought on this, and I mentioned to Ray, and he didn't really agree. I said, this could turn out to be in favor of the Jets. And the reason being is if they decide that they like him, they could offer a contract discounted and say, look, you could test the open market, but we're going to offer you like 3 years, $24 million. We like you. We want you to be part of it. And this could really solve one issue unless they have other safeties that they think will fit into his role. Ralph, what's your thoughts on that?
My take is I think he might have played his last game as a Jet, actually. He's out for what, 3 to 5 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think Douglas is going to want to invest in a guy who will be like 29 and playing safety. Not a position that Douglas really puts a lot of import into relative to other positions. So no, I don't see that happening myself.
Okay, Ray, what's your opinion on that?
Well, first, let me clear something up. You said I didn't like the thing. I said from the Jets standpoint, I wouldn't mind it per se, but
Ray didn't know
I
he
don't
was
think
on.
he would.
Ralph, he didn't know he was on CNN or Fox, so he's
I
clearing it up.
didn't.
Go
I
ahead.
didn't know. I said I don't think he would accept 3 years at 24 million unless things really go bad. I think he'd rather test the open market. So from a Jets standpoint, money wise, yeah, but I kind of wonder the same thing, especially as this plays out more and more like Ralph does. I don't know if he'll even suit up again for the Jets, but if he does and they decide they want to keep him, they might be able to work out something a little less than what he was wanting.
Yeah, the problem is at this point he Douglas works magic with getting draft picks. I don't think he could get much for him right now. He's damaged goods in a lot of different ways.
Right.
Whereas before this scandal came out, they could have gotten maybe a fourth or fifth one.
Right. I just want to rewind a little bit because Ralph hasn't been on the show in a couple of weeks. And I just want to, I'll start with Ralph. I'll go to Ray, then I'm going to chime in on the last thoughts of the Jets-Titan game, which, Ralph, I don't know if you heard the podcast. I had said that.
Absolutely. I never miss it. Actually, I listened to it 3 different times.
The first quarter and a half was the worst offensive football I've ever seen in my life.
That's saying a lot. Watching the
Falk
Jets the last
included.
year and a half.
Yeah, now, I'm assuming, Ralph, you either saw the game or you saw the highlights of our quarterback, and I just want to hear your reaction to what you saw.
Well, it's funny because it just took a couple of completions, a decent drive, and you could see the confidence. He relaxed and he became himself. I think I'm happy because I never, my belief in this guy has never wavered, and I think he's going to be a star. But I think some Jet fans might have been a little shaky about him. But I think right now everyone's on board. They see what the potential is with this guy. I watch Mac Jones every week while I'm up here in New England, and he's very efficient, and he's doing what they ask him. But they're just asking him to manage. The Jets are asking Wilson to win games for them, which is putting a lot on. I mean, there's going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I think we're in the right direction now.
Ralph, I just want to ask you, are you concerned at all with his short passes, which he seemed to miss too much? Or do you think that's correctable?
You know, I mean, I watched probably almost every pass he made in college. He was always extremely accurate in all his passes. I think now the short passing game, what's going on to a degree is that, you know, the game is a little fast for him now in the pocket. I think his mechanics, he's rushing, and I don't think his mechanics look good, look normal, I should say. And I think once the game slows down, his mechanics will get back to normal. I mean, when he's outside the pocket, you can see he's relaxed and he throws beautiful passes. So it's true that it is uncharacteristic with him now, but I think that'll get better as the game slows down.
Ray, your last reaction to the Titan game?
Well, I one thing I'll say, I remember, you know, when we were in the podcast, I could not remember Keelan Cole's 4-yard catch. And then when I rewatched, I zipped through the game just to see the highlights again. And then I remembered it was the big catch he made down the field that I called after we talked at break time. And I was like, why did he fall down when he caught that ball? He could have waltzed into the end zone.
Yeah.
Catch. I didn't understand that. And that being said, that short pass from Zach, was that in overtime to Griffin that he short hopped it?
It was overtime.
If
Yeah.
he hits him in the numbers, Griffin just walks into it was overtime because it would end at the game. But other than that, I thought it was like we had talked. I said, if he just, you know, if LaFleur can get him doing some things, get some stuff rolling, I think he'll settle down. And he looked so much better in the second half. That's why this game is interesting, because I want to see if it carries over and he grows from that. I think a lot of Zach's progress is going to depend on LaFleur, because I think LaFleur still needs to improve on his play calling. I think if he gets more comfortable calling plays for Zach and not trying to fit it into a certain style, I think this offense can be a lot better.
Yeah. My opinion is, looking back, he made like those 4, maybe 5 throws that we really haven't seen in a while. We probably saw and it's not a knock on him, in his 3-year career here, Sam Darnold probably made about 5 total plays like that. I was so impressed. And Ralph, I don't know how you feel. I mean, if you were to rank the throws, I thought that throw to the left sideline to Keelan Cole was unbelievable right before he stepped out of bounds. Just the way. Do you remember that?
Well, you know, to me, I rate a quarterback's arm based on 3 categories: strength, touch, and accuracy. And that was the touch pass. And he's got all those 3 qualities. You know, just to pick up on Ray, the Keelan Cole's catch, I think he just wanted to make sure he cradled that ball, make sure he caught it.
Yeah.
But if you notice on that play, when Wilson throws the ball, his feet are off the ground. He's not even planted. I mean, which is stuff that he did in college, but that's pretty amazing.
And I'm sure you guys are all in agreement. What we want to see now, we would like to see Zach Wilson make some nice passes, A, in the pocket,
Right,
and B, short passes. Okay.
Yeah.
So
That'd help everybody if you did that.
yeah.
well, I think teams are going to probably force him. I mean, you know, they're going to start playing containment with him, you know, keep him in the pocket, make him show that he can do that. And, you know, it's funny, if they do that enough, it reminds me of an analogy, a tennis analogy. When Roger Federer was a young player, he had this phenomenal forehand and a weak backhand. So all the players hit to his backhand, and he said he wanted to thank them all because it made his backhand better. And I think that he'll be forced to become better in the pocket because teams are going to make him. But there are still ways that LaFleur can get him outside. You know, and I'm sure he's going to do that.
Yes. Okay, let's move on now. Go ahead, Ray.
Real quick, him getting better in the pocket is going to have a lot to do with the line too. So
Definitely.
if the line protects him, that's one thing. The other thing I'd say, when you were comparing him to Sam Sam dropped a few in like the one on the sideline. He made some passes like that,
He
but
did.
what he never did, and I said that the second you called me right after that touchdown to Davis when he waved him down the field, and I said Sam never could have done that. When he said hit, go deep and then just right on the money, just a perfect shot.
Yeah, and I
Sam couldn't have done that.
I got to give Davis credit because the defender was fairly close to him.
Very close. Yeah.
So that he tracked that ball and he caught it. And I've been on him, as Ray knows, the whole year going into the that game, especially after his first drop. Ralph, he was almost on my bum list, but
I know that doesn't take much with you, Marty.
No, I know. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. Okay, anyway. The team and a lot of fans are in London right now. And I maintain now, looking at the situation, the Jets are 1-3. They started out as 3.5-point underdogs. I don't know what the spread is now, but a few things have happened and other things around the league are going on that things are slowly starting to fall into place for the Jets. The first thing is the Falcons starting wide receivers, Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage, they're out, okay? And this is the second week in a row where the Jets, I'm getting another admit, where the Jets secondary is facing not the primary receivers, secondary receivers. And before we go on, I just want to tell you guys, we are in luck because trying to get on the air right now from, I guess, over the Canadian border is Rich Tinley. Rich, how are you? There he is.
How's it going, guys? Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. There was a little mix-up with the time, but I don't know. You know Ralph, and I think you know Ray.
Yep.
Yeah, I've met Ralph before. Hi, Ralph. How's it going?
Rich, how are you doing? I'm very disappointed you're not going to be at Wembley tomorrow.
Yeah, well, was it either that? I have a christening on in Toronto, so I had to make a choice, unfortunately. Yeah, so just the way it fell.
Wow,
Okay.
you're christening over the Jets. This is
Rich.
a big shock.
Let's catch up quickly, and we want your opinion. We were talking about the extension for John Franklin-Meyers, well deserved, and then I brought up that I'm a little concerned. And will the Jets extend after this year, Foley Fatukasi? So I want your take on that. Then I'd like your opinion on where the Jets stand and Zach Wilson. Go ahead, Rich.
I think, well, so far, I want to just say how well the rookies are doing this year. Like, so many of them are performing well above and beyond. Maybe Wilson, maybe not so much yet, but he's certainly shown a lot of things. In terms of keeping the guys on the D-line, I think once Robert Saleh's happy with what he has there and the guys are willing to take decent enough contracts, I don't see an issue with guys like that being brought back. I think they all have a role. Like when you look at like Loss has been down, and yet the weekend now he had 7 sacks, against Ryan Tannehill, and Tennessee's line's not too bad. So yeah, you would think most of them guys you'd like to try and keep them together,
And the fact that in a couple of years we're going to have to deal with Queen and Williams' contract, do you think that's going to be an issue at all, or no? You think he'll find the money to keep the line together?
When we have a rookie contract at quarterback, we've got a couple of years of leeway there to kind of like spend elsewhere. I was kind of like looking through free agency this year as well, like the upcoming free agency, and yeah, there's a few corners and a few safeties that I like the look of if May isn't brought back or if one of the young guys starts to kind of implode along the way. But other than that, like I don't see us like really like having that many huge targets in free agency. Like there's a guy that you think, right, I want him, he's top of my list.
The offensive lineman there that looked nice.
Center is kind of the area I'd look at like improving. Like strangely enough, I think the O-line has started to improve more since McCoy Becton went down. Tucker started to play better since I don't know, maybe there's just a little bit better chemistry. I'm not saying Becton's a bad player, but like they do look to have stepped it up a bit since they changed the line around in his absence. So Yeah, I think centre is still kind of the weak spot there for me. You know, that would be kind of one of the things I would look at in free agency or the draft. But we do have a lot of cap room again next year. And as I said, the free agency thing does look a little bit like slim pickings. So maybe we'll be tying up guys a bit earlier on contracts when we have the opportunity to do so. So that's kind of what I would think if Salah, after a year of working with guys on that D line and on the defense in general, like, because I think May could be another one of those guys that you'll find we'll keep. You know, I think they're probably having a year to look at most of those guys there and decide who they're bringing back and like sort of building that roster around. I think CJ Mosley's another guy you probably would have having a question mark over moving forward, but he looks fantastic this year as well. And as much as Quincy Williams, like we were talking about his contract, Quinnen Williams, sorry, his brother Quincy has been playing fantastic at outside linebacker too. So, you know, there's a lot of guys. I think we entered this year, I guess, with a lot of open positions, like where guys could go in and win positions here. And there's a lot of guys actually stepping up despite kind of the results. But there are a lot of guys stepping up and showing that they kind of belong in the NFL, even those rookies at a very early stage of their career.
Right. And before you came on, we were talking about the Marcus Maye situation. Ralph gave his opinion that he thought he might have played his last game as a Jet. I thought maybe they could offer him something on the cheap and maybe keep him. But a good point was Robert Saleh doesn't seem to put a big emphasis financially on the safety position. I want to go ahead, Ralph.
No, I was going to say you mean Douglas.
Yeah.
Douglas. What did I say? Oh, yeah, Douglas doesn't put again a big emphasis on that financially. But Rich, what's your take so far on Zach Wilson? Our concern is his short passes and throwing from the pocket. Ralph is confident that once the game slows down, he'll be okay in the short passes. Ray, I think you're fairly confident too that he'll be able to hit those short passes. But
Yeah.
Rich, what's your take on our quarterback right now?
He's ticking a lot of boxes in a positive way. He's making a lot of mistakes too. I will say that, like, he seems to lose his accuracy when he doesn't step into his throws. I think that looks kind of obvious to everybody, even on the short ones. But the throws that he's kind of screwing up at the minute are the ones that are kind of easily fixed. Like, he's hitting those long bombs. Like, you look at when we had Darnold for a couple of years, and yes, he threw a few long balls, but if you look, a lot of them were underthrown. Like, receivers had to wait for them and things like that. There wasn't very many like players been hitting stride. And Wilson has probably already showed a bit more touch. There was one pass, I think, to Coles right on the left sideline in the fourth quarter. It was a lovely touch pass. He kind of dropped it into a really tight basket. So for him to be doing that, and in front of a home crowd who, like, we were 0-3 and we were 9-0 down, him throwing an interception, that shows a lot of guts to come back and, you know, do what he did. He really changed his game around. And to be fair, the defense, I think, really helped. I think had we conceded a touchdown rather than those 3 field goals, we might have seen like the team kind of, you know, just fade away. But I think the defense kind of G'd the offense up, and Wilson finally, I think, took the reins a little bit, and that was lovely to see too.
What's your opinion about with our rookie Michael Carter, number 2, the defensive back? How do you like the way he's been playing?
I think he's the best Michael Carter, or the best guy named Michael Carter on the roster, and the running back is doing pretty well. So that's how well I think Michael Carter at defensive back is doing. He's been beaten a couple of times, but he's been glued to the guy when he's been beaten. Like he's coming in, transitioning. Like, I guess cornerback is not notoriously known for guys coming in low rounds and starting off so well. And like even Brandon Eccles as well in the slot, like I think he's done very well too. Hall, like all 3 of those guys, like they, you know, huge positives on what I've seen so far in terms of how they're going to play defense as well, in terms of like what Robert Saleh expects of his cornerback. So he wants physical guys. I think Carter is maybe 2nd or 3rd in the team in tackles as well. He's had a couple of tackles for loss, been pretty good against the run. And yeah, I think like he's been really, really good in coverage in terms of like really, really tight. I think all of them are just kind of lacking an interception here or there to just solidify what they're actually doing.
Yeah, turnovers are not part of the Jets' plan for years. I don't know what it is. They don't get turnovers. Yeah, and I like going back to last year. The Ralph and Ray know I love this guy Javelin Guidry. He made a great open field tackle of Derrick Henry. Now I want to ask Ray because Ray, tomorrow Elijah Moore is coming back. How do you think that's going to affect Jamison Crowder?
I don't know if it's going to affect Crowder or if it's going to mean Mims is on the shelf again, but they've been playing him to the outside. And so Crowder had a good game. I can't see, moving him out of there at this point. And I could see maybe, switching him off. I don't like Moore on the outside, but I have a feeling you might see him more on the outside than in the slot. But, I don't know because Crowder, looked like the Crowder of years past with key receptions, hanging onto the ball, making plays. So that was really good to see. And I think that helps Zach too, is that he gets open and he catches the ball. So Moore might be spot duty at best, I think.
Ralph, our last podcast after the game, I had mentioned to Ray that, look, Elijah Moore might become great one day, but you can't put a value on experience. I mean, Jamison Crowder was very good. He's a solid pro. What's your take on it if Elijah Moore plays?
Yeah, I'd like to see them get Elijah Moore off. I definitely think Crowder's going to get his time. He's certain. What did he catch, like 7 passes the other game?
Yeah, I think 6 or 7.
Yeah, I mean he's dependable, and he'll be there. But I'd like to see him, maybe get a couple of reverses, get the ball in his hands in some space, because he's so elusive. That would be great. He's got a lot of targets, so we can't please everyone, but
yeah.
I definitely think Crowder's going to be started in the slot.
Rich, your service that you work for, again, tell the folks the name of it. Then I want to ask you a question on a player.
Sure, yeah. Drafttek.com is the website. We have mock drafts. I think it's probably bi-weekly now. We usually take a little break after the 2021 was over. So we started in earnest now again with the season back up and running. So we usually have one, I think it's every second week at the minute. And then coming near the end of the season, it's weekly,
And do you have a Twitter handle, Rich?
Yeah, just at Drafttek. We're also on Facebook as well. My own Twitter handle is at Tinley24 if anybody wants to follow. Always giving out a few tweets here and there. So yeah. Yeah,
Rich, one of our first 4 picks, so we have 2 first-round, 2 second-round picks. If it's not a tight end, I'm going to be delirious next year. I got to tell you, I'm just going nuts with this tight end position. Tyler Crofton won't play tomorrow. Kenny Yeboah is going to be activated. How did you and your organization have him rated going into the draft?
We kind of see them as a kind of one of those mid-round guys, like rounds 3, 4, 5. Like when we picked him up as an undrafted free agent, he was one of the guys I was really happy we picked up. And even in preseason, like I was actually kind of surprised he was cut. And well, not that he was cut, but he didn't make the 53-man roster because all things pointed to him actually being the best tight end we had based on what I'd seen on the previous guys. So I know you can't really put a lot into preseason too, because you've got your David Clowney, wide receiver, was a fantastic, preseason guy, but couldn't catch a cold in the regular season. But I think when he was young and showed what he showed, and we didn't really have anything there at the tight end position, I was kind of surprised he missed out on the 53-man roster. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And I think he's well capable of actually doing quite a lot.
Right. And as we're entering the 4th quarter of the show, it's funny, Rich, because Ralph always gives out a David Clowney Award every year from the from the preseason. All right. We got the Falcons tomorrow. Their starting receivers are out. Ridley engaged, and I just want to do a shout out to a player that's going to be activated, Frank Darby. It's a wide receiver for them. He went to my alma mater, Arizona State, and my son went there, and he's from Jersey City, where my son Michael Shupak lives. So it's his first game to be activated. I'm hoping the Jets win and he does well. The Falcons backup defensive tackle Marlon Davidson is out. Their pass defense is 21st in the league. They were averaging 265 yards for the year, but the last game it was 290. Safety Eric Harris is doubtful. Cornerback Avery Williams is doubtful. We have Elijah Moore back. I really think that the Jets are going to win tomorrow. I just don't see how they're going to lose. The only thing I think that could screw them up, and Ralph, I
That's
want
an
to
amazing statement on a 1-3 team.
Well, yeah.
Lose.
Ralph, I think the only thing that could screw them up is if the offensive line falls apart. What's your
This is a winnable game. I'll be very disappointed if they don't win this game because I think this could really shift the direction of their season if they win 2 in a row. And you got Matt Ryan, who's still can throw the ball, but at 36, he's even less mobile than he was before. And I think that's a good matchup for the Jets because apparently they have a pretty good pass rush this year. And you don't even talk about Bryce Huff. That guy,
Yeah.
I mean, he has some talent. And in college, he was a better player than Zuniga. So I think Douglas, this is the offsets the Zuniga pick, but he's got a lot of potential. And I think it's a good matchup for the Jets. Like I said, I will be disappointed if they don't win the game.
Ray, what's your take on the game tomorrow?
Well, obviously I think it's winnable and I hope we do, but I think to me the most important thing is to show that we're progressing and we look like we're growing as a team. Matt Ryan's a better quarterback than Tannehill and a better passer. So if we don't get to him, he could, despite Ridley and guys being out, he's a good enough quarterback that he could cause us trouble. So we do need to get pressure on him, and I think we will. But I want to see the offense on our side do better. I want to see the running attack look like it's got traction. That would make, and that is another thing that I think would help Zach too. So to me, those are the things I want to see. I'll be disappointed if they lose, but I'll be less disappointed if we look like, we competed and we grew as a team than if we go out there and lay a huge egg,
Right.
that type of thing. So.
Rich, what's your take on the game tomorrow, knowing that all these players are going to be out for Atlanta? And by the way, Atlanta has potentially, and you probably know a lot more than me, Rich. I guess was his name Elijah Pitts, the tight end?
Kyle
Pitts. Yeah,
Kyle Pitts. Yeah.
He's really drafted
Remember
really
Elijah
well.
Pitts? Yeah.
He's going to be expensive if he walks out for a second contract again. Been drafted that high, but yeah, he's a pretty good target. It hasn't really set the world on fire yet. I think it's supposed 3 or 4 games, but yeah, he's probably going to be the danger man with all the other guys out. He's kind of the guy we're going to need to mark. But I still think we can win this game. I was actually thinking it kind of needs to be, we're pushing on and showing that last week's not a fluke. We're playing an away team. We're playing an away game against a team that's not playing at home. So that's a bit of an advantage too. And the Jets also have a 100% winning record in London because the only other time they played over there, they beat Miami. So
Right.
Yeah, I think if the Jets, I'd like to see the Jets come out this week and start fast, as in continue on from what they did last week and show that it wasn't a fluke. And I think Atlanta's kind of the team that if we did get up early, I think could probably throw in the towel. So
Right.
that's kind of what I'm hoping for and envisaging in terms of that would tick a box for me in the Robert Saleh plan for the season.
I'm predicting the Jets are going to win 20-10. I'm looking forward to this. I think you're going to see the defense is going to do a great job. I think you're going to see a late touchdown by Matt Ryan, but I think they're going to win. And I think we're going to see our quarterback really have a good game and he'll be calmed down too. All right, let's get to the trivia question. Rich, you came on late, but I'm going to repeat it. There was one Jets quarterback that fumbled 6 times in one game. Okay. So I'll start with Ralph because Ralph had enough time to look it up on the internet. Go ahead, Ralph. What's your guess?
Any question like that, I'll always go with Geno Smith. I don't know why, but I'm
By the
hoping
way-
they'll continue that in Seattle. Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Geno Smith, I just want to add that when I say things are falling into place for the Jets, Russell Wilson now is out for 8 weeks. Seattle's
Is it 8 weeks, really?
8
Wow.
weeks. 8 weeks. They had some issues with the operation on his finger. They had to put some screws in it. It was a 2-part operation. Seattle's 2-3. We have the first round pick. So things are trending that way too. All right. Ray, what's your guess on the quarterback that fumbled 6 times?
I vaguely remember it happening, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't him, but the only one I could come up with was Vinny, because Vinny couldn't take care of the ball either. But I don't think he ever fumbled 6 times for the Jets, but that was mine.
Okay. Rich, any guesses?
I'd probably go Phil O'Donnell because he was quite awful when he was here too. So.
All right. Well, listen to this because I was surprised. The record is first of all, the record's, I think it's 7 times.
Good thing you're prepared.
By Len Dawson. Chad Pennington fumbled 6 times.
Wow.
September 11, 2005, against those Kansas City Chiefs. So, and he lost only 2 of 6, but it's Chad Pennington. Don't remember that game at all, by the way.
You probably blocked it out of your memory.
I probably did that too. All right, we're going to close this out. I want to thank Ralph for joining us.
One thing.
Go ahead, Don.
2 things actually. One is the spread is 2.5 to 3 in Vegas right now, but the other is I thought maybe for Rich you might want to spell out his the name of the site, because I know it isn't like it sounds if you were to.
Yeah,
spell.
do it nice and slow, Rich, just so the fans could hear. Because you don't know this, Rich. There are about 80 million people that listen to this podcast. You're gonna just spell it out. Now's your chance.
No problem. Yeah, it's www.drafttek.com. So draft as in draft and tech, TEK.com.
But when they go to it, how do they find you? How do they navigate the site?
Well, what we'll do, we have usually we have mock drafts up. So whatever picks we have in the 4th round, you'll usually see my comments underneath. So for both I think we have this recent mock, we have, I think, Spiller at running back as the late round 1 pick, and the cornerback from LSU who just went down, Stingley Jr. We had him, I think we were picking 4th overall was what the pick was. So we had those 2 guys in round 1, this latest one. But again, there's a lot of those guys, young guys that are playing well in those positions. So.
Okay. Hey, listen, I want to thank you for coming on, and thanks to everyone. And enjoy the game tomorrow for Marty Shupak, Rich Tinley, Ralph Schrage, and Ray Clifford. This has been JetsRewind.com.